What up? What up? What up? Welcome back to another edition of Green with Envy. Opening night tip off special. Basketball is back, and god damn, was it a lot of fun tonight to get back out there. As always, this is your boy Will Weir checking in. How you doing? How you living? Joining me tonight, we get my best friend, co-host, and the coach of our podcast, the one and only Greg Manakis. What's going on, buddy?
My pingly is so tingly, bro. Oh my God. Kristaps Porzingis. I don't know what's a better debut. That new intro that we have is our new graphic, or Kristaps Porzingis in Boston. I said by the end of the season, my spicy take, that Kristaps Porzingis would be widely considered the second best player on the Celtics. I don't think we even need to wait until the end of the season. What he did, oh my God, I can't wait to get into it.
Love me a good solid first game overreaction, confirming any spicy take that may have happened in the offseason. It's just perfect for that. And dude, I just gotta say, man, it's funny. Right before we recorded, my fiance, still getting used to saying that, Lorena walked in from having dinner, and she was like, it was literally moments after the Celtics game ended, right as we delayed doing this a little bit so we get a first glimpse at Wemby. So when you combine those two things, she walked in and she just goes, "Why are you smiling like that?" Because I just had like an ear to ear shit eating grin, just because, the emotions that the Celtics and Knicks brought out. Then you get Wemby. And listen, man, basketball's fun. That's the simplest way to put it. Basketball is a lot of fun.
Well, we had to delay going live because I texted you. I was like, bro, I can't miss Wemby's debut. I need to see him. And then the first play of the game, he blocks Kyrie Irving.
Yeah. First play of the game, hit his first shot, or his first points in the NBA on a 3-pointer. He had a pull up from deep where I thought, oh my God, dude, if he had hit that, San Antonio crowd would have lost it. But we'll cover that some more, because I know we want to check out the end of that game. But before we do that, we got to make sure that we cover opening night, Boston Celtics, brand new season. So we're going to do what we always do here the night after a game, and let's get you set up with the morning box score. Today's morning box score: the Boston Celtics win in Madison Square Garden on opening night, 108-104. In classic Celtics opening night fashion, it went right down to the wire. We'll take you through all of it, but let's start out with the New York Knicks. For the Knicks, RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley each chipped in with 24 points, both of them really having standout games for the Knicks. 11 points for Quentin Grimes. For their two studs, Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle, not their best nights. For Julius Randle, 14 points, 5 of 22 from the field. Jalen Brunson, 15 points, only 6 of 21 from the field. And as a team, 14 of 26 from the free throw line. That will certainly come back to bite you in the ass. We'll talk more about that, but let's swing over to your Boston Celtics. And we got to start off with the new guy, and of course, one of the new guys, and that is Kristaps Porzingis. 8 of 15 from the field, 5 of 9 from the three-point line. He goes for 30 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 blocks in his Celtic debut. As they noted on the broadcast, Kristaps Porzingis with the largest scoring total for a Celtics debut in Celtics history, which feels a little crazy, but I'm going with what they said in the broadcast, so we're going to rock with that. Jayson Tatum, the MVP campaign is on. 13 of 22 from the field for him, 5 of 6 from the free throw line. 34 points. And kids, I hope you were listening to what Uncle Will and Uncle Greg were telling you for the last couple of weeks. 11 rebounds for Jayson Tatum. Go ahead, hammer that over while you can. Double season in my prediction coming in here for Jayson Tatum. Looking around the rest of the roster here, Jrue Holiday in his first performance, 4 of 10 from the field, 9 points, 4 rebounds, 3 blocks. We'll talk a lot more about his disruptive defense on the night. Derek White, just doing Derek White things, 4 of 6 from the field, 12 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, just filling it up left and right. And then Jaylen Brown, only 4 of 11 from the field tonight, 11 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists to 2 turnovers. So that's something definitely to highlight for the Celtics here, who find a way to get the win in a game that seemingly they had in hand at one point, and in a blink of an eye, the Knicks came roaring right back. was back and forth all the way through, even falling down 8 points at one point in the fourth quarter. But ultimately, the Celtics pull away, a large part in due to, as I mentioned, the New York Knicks not being able to make their free throws. But Celtics 108, Knicks 104. Greg, you mentioned Porzingis here, tingly pingly as you refer to it. I feel like that's where we got to start. It's like Christmas morning. You find the new toy that you're so excited to see, and that's Kristaps Porzingis for the Celtics.
The Celtics win. Greg hits both of his bets. Jayson Tatum over 9.5 rebounds. Kristaps Porzingis at least 3-point shots. Oh my God. Kristaps Porzingis opened up everything for the Celtics on offense, where they almost like had to stop going to it because they're like, we can't just run pick and roll with Porzingis the entire game, even though they could. Like at some point, I think it was like mid third quarter, we decided to kind of go away from that. The ball was in Jaylen's hands a little bit more. And Jaylen actually had a really good third quarter, but Porzingis, man, holy shit, was he good in this game tonight. Not only his offense and his ability just to create stuff for everybody just with his sheer size and spacing on the court, but the defense that he provided. That block on RJ was insane.
Oh my God.
He
Led
looked
to a
like
Tatum dunk on the other end. That was beautiful.
Dude, he looked like Porzingis when he like came into the league, flying around, blocking shots. He had that alley-oop early in the game off the nice backdoor cut off the baseline. Everything that we could have hoped for Kristaps Porzingis, he surpassed it in that first game. I don't think I was expecting big things from him. I love Porzingis. I thought he was going to do what he did tonight, not to that level, but I knew everyone was going to look at him and be like, oh man, we've been like thinking Al Horford was a stretch big for the past 3 years. Like when you have a real stretch big,
so
it's like when
it's
other
just a world of
teams,
difference.
well,
It's
when
a world
other
of difference.
teams see Porzingis versus other teams see Horford, they're going to live with Horford shooting a 3 in the playoffs. You can't do that with Porzingis.
And there was another moment where I want to say it was, I believe it had to be in the second quarter because I know the way the Celtics were shooting, but it was Jayson Tatum and Kristaps Porzingis running that pick and roll, which, like you talked about, is just going to be pick and roll, pick and pop, which is going to be so hard to stop. And at one point, Tatum used the pick and Porzingis rolled, and both Knick defenders went with Porzingis and left Tatum. And Tatum actually didn't realize how open he was, jabbed, and then was like, "Oh, I've got to shoot this." He actually missed the shot, but it just made me think of when Al Horford's in that role, when it's Rob Williams, who is a vertical threat, they're still going to choose Tatum over Rob Williams, whether it's Blake Griffin, Luke Cornett. Like the fact that Tatum has to get used to, oh, I'm going to have kind of my choice of a shot, or Porzingis is going to be rolling, or if that's going to create, more space for someone else on the weak side. It just gave such a different look to the Celtics offense. And I think Porzingis getting some of those early, those 2 early dunks to go really helped him to kind of get going. And another, Greg, here's a little bet that I think I may need to start putting a few dollars on. I feel like that's the second or third time, if you include the preseason, when we've had the main starters for the Celtics out there, in which the first play has been kind of geared towards getting Porzingis a look. Now, he missed that first 3 to start the game today, but I like that as a first basket bet going forward here, getting Porzingis that early 3-point look.
And he's not going to lose many tips, right? So the Celtics should have the ball first in most games. So any Celtics player to have the first basket is probably going to be more advantageous than the other team, just because Porzingis is probably going to win most of the jump balls this year. But holy shit, man, Kristaps Porzingis, the fact that we have a 2-man game that we can go to at the end of games like we did tonight and get open, easy looks, something we have not been able to do for the past 5 years. We haven't had any action that we could go to and trust and really compromise defenses. We can do that for the entire game, but most importantly, we can do that to start games and get easy looks, get the flow going. And we could also do that at the end of games. Jayson Tatum now has a true pick and roll, pick and pop partner. And I think you're going to see an insane jump in Tatum's playmaking just because of how much space that he's going to have and the reads that he has to make. I did think that Tatum towards the end of the game stopped trusting like the right read right away. It seemed like he was holding on to the ball maybe just a little bit too long. There's one play the Celtics really needed a bucket. They ended up calling a timeout. They went Tatum and Porzingis left side, empty side pick and roll, but it seemed like they drew the play up to swing the ball. And Tatum had Porzingis rolling the basket wide open, but he kind of predetermined he was going to swing the ball to the other side of the court. I think it ended up in a turnover.
Yeah.
But like that action's going to be there the entire year, man, at the end of games. Giannis and Dame have their 2-man action. Jokic and Murray have their 2-man action. And I'm putting them on there right now. Jayson Tatum and
Love it.
Kristaps Porzingis
Love it.
have their
Let's get
2-man
spicy.
action.
Let's
Let's
get
go.
spicy. It's opening night. Let's get spicy. Jayson Tatum. Let's talk about him for a minute here, because I think, he's definitely going to be a part of this from what we saw tonight. Like you said, that Tatum Porzingis 2-man game. And I think, across the board, especially end of the third quarter into certain stretches of the fourth quarter, you could tell the Celtics we're in a little bit of a feel it out phase for, okay, this game got real tight on us real quick. Like, how do we adjust to what our offense looks like? Or, we kind of default sometimes to Tatum and Brown having to do a lot one-on-one. And like you said, there's going to be a lot more options on the table. But Jayson Tatum tonight, 13 of 22, 3 of 8 from 3, 5 of 6 from the line, got those 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 34 points overall. And, there were stretches in this game where Tatum definitely had that I'm not fucking around tonight type of vibe to
Mhm.
the way that, and I feel like we've talked about this before in the past. There's certain ways that Tatum dunks the ball at times where he wants you to like feel how strong he actually is, how big and strong he actually is. He had a couple of those, especially in that early third quarter when he really got going to take to
Mhm.
kind of give the Celtics some distance at the time. Obviously, that didn't really pan out and last throughout the game. But Jayson Tatum, I think for opening night, for a guy that all Celtics fans, we've seen that meme, right, of Jayson Tatum doesn't really get it going till middle of the season or whatever it might be, that usually has kind of a rough start to some games or sometimes throughout the season. He really had a very strong performance tonight to get his campaign started.
Yeah, and I do think we should talk a little bit about JB as well, because he was kind of catching all of the smoke on Twitter. It seems like Celtics fans are just going to be going at Jaylen Brown because of that contract, which I know Jaylen didn't have a great game, but I don't think he had like as terrible of a game as people were making it out. I really think he played a great third quarter. He had those 3 back-to-back-to-back awful plays that almost gave the game away to the Knicks. So, like, as you always say, his mistakes are so loud. When he makes a
Yeah.
mistake, it is the loudest mistake in the building. But I actually was encouraged by what I saw out of Jaylen Brown because he didn't really force anything tonight. As you see, 4 for 11 from the field. He had those 5 assists. He was playing pressure defense the whole night, fell asleep a couple times, gave up some open threes, does what JB does. But, like, his on-ball pressure, I think, was so big. And those 5 assists to 2 turnovers, man, I think 4 of those 5 assists came in that third quarter where Jayson Tatum went to the bench and we ran the whole offense through Jaylen Brown. And I thought Jaylen Brown made a bunch of great reads. There was one play, he was coming off the left wing. He called for a screen, kind of did a little like pitter patter dribble, like machine gun dribble to get into the lane, and then swung the ball to the other side for an open 3. Where last year I feel like that would have been a turnover or that would have been a pull up jump shot. And he was making the right play throughout that third quarter. Just so happens JB had a horrible fourth quarter. And then he kind of didn't factor into the end of the game because once he did that, it seemed like the team was just like, all right, it's Tatum and Porzingis the rest of the way.
Yeah. They kind of made the executive call. And I think that's going to happen a bunch with this team where there's going to be some executive calls of, well, Jrue Holiday's got it going tonight. So it's Tatum and Holiday tonight, or it's, Holiday and Porzingis. I don't know if they're going to ever really cut Jayson Tatum out of the equation. He's going to have to factor in some way. But I think in some ways that's going to happen. And I'm just not, to be honest, I'm not worried about Jaylen Brown after tonight. I have no concerns. There's a couple times where I feel like there was one play specifically where he should have made the correct pass to swing it one more time to Tatum. He missed it, but he also didn't then double down on that mistake and force it. I forget what the end result was, but I know he didn't immediately turn it over, didn't jack up a shot. And so he kind of reset himself, which I remember just noting that mentally, like that felt like mental growth. It's not going to show up in the stat box anywhere. You got to go find it for what we're talking about, but it clearly stood out to you as well. So, not a huge night from Jaylen Brown, but that's going to happen when you have this many guys on your team. You're going to have different guys stepping up each night. Tonight, the main dudes were going to be Tatum, Porzingis. I want to talk about Jrue Holiday as well here too, because Jrue Holiday, the stats don't nearly speak. I feel like Derek White and Jrue Holiday, the backcourt that has numbers that don't speak for the impact that they're going to have each and every game. And, Jrue Holiday today, I thought his defense, the fact that he has technically no registered steals feels like a crime, because I feel like Holiday had his hand on in so many different plays. And we talked about this a little bit on the Twitter spaces that we did before the game tonight. And one of my things that I was curious about is how's Tatum or Brown, who I thought might get the matchup against Randall, hold up with him being, a brute and getting physical. Apparently it went to Jrue Holiday, and Big Ball 1 is not dead, my friend. It is alive and well in the form of Jrue Holiday.
Well, he has such good hands, man. He was just giving Randall fits. And I think those 3 blocks that he has, I think a couple of those steals, they probably registered as blocks, because technically when you strip somebody as they're going up for a shot, they register that as a block. So Holiday, I would love to see how many deflections he also had. He was unbelievable on the defensive end. He's 6'4". Obviously Jimmy Butler gave it to him in the playoffs last year, but that was just Jimmy.
Jimmy was also insanely hot. That was an out of body experience. Like we've seen Jimmy get hot, but that 2-game span that he gave Jrue Holiday the business, that was something even different than what we've seen in other special Jimmy moments. So I'm not gonna hold that against him.
No. I'm just using that as a point of comparison with what we saw from Julius Randle tonight, because Randle's a bigger player, a stronger player than Butler, and Jrue did a great job on him and completely neutralized Julius Randle. And we've been trying for years to neutralize Julius Randle to no avail. So Jrue Holiday was great. He had a couple really heady plays, couple bonehead turnovers that Jrue Holiday has. But overall, that's about all you can ask for. Derek White, super efficient in his 32 minutes of action. But one thing that
Derek White game, it was just Derek White being Derek White. Derek White is such a perfect 5th banana on this team.
Well, the chase down tap away off of Brunson on that one play. Example. I mean, that's Derek White in a nutshell right there. This is Derek White in a nutshell. How did I get into this? And I'm just so happy, man. The thing that really stood out to me tonight, though, Will, was all the talk about who's the Celtics starting 5. I didn't really buy into it in the preseason. I was like, the starting 5 is Horford coming off the bench. Like, that's what makes sense for this team. And the closing 5 is the 5 best players. The 5 best players are Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis, Jrue Holiday, and Derek White. Like, it's not that hard. Everybody was making out to be this thing where it's going to be like, oh, who's going to have to sacrifice and whatnot. I almost feel like they were doing that as like lip service to Al, because they didn't want to make him feel bad, in the media and everything. And Al's going to sacrifice. He's 37 years old, man. Like he's at the point of his career where he should be coming off the bench and playing only 25 minutes. He
was solid tonight, by the way.
Yeah, Al was solid tonight. He had 7 rebounds. He had a couple 3-pointers that were on mark. The minute distribution, 38 minutes for Kristaps is too much.
So this is where I wanted to go next. And this is a good transition here. I want to talk about Joe Mazzulla, right? Because I think he had a couple interesting decisions that I want to talk about. And I think the minutes distribution, as long as what your thoughts were on his substitution pattern, or what I want to get to here. And so here's the breakdown for those of you that might not be looking on YouTube here. But for the starting lineup tonight, Jaylen Brown, 38 minutes, Jayson Tatum just about 39, 38 for Kristaps, 35 for Jrue Holiday, 32 for Derek White, 26 for Horford off the bench, and then no one else cracked above 15 minutes. Sam Hauser was the highest outside of that at 14, Peyton Pritchard 11, and Luke Cornett there with just under about 8 minutes played. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting to see Porzingis play all but I think it was the last 34 or last 30 seconds of the first quarter. And I mean, I understand why Joe Mazzulla wanted to play Kristaps Porzingis as much as he did, because when he wasn't on the court, that was when you really felt like the Knicks have a chance to come grab this game, because it was such a difference when Porzingis was out there. But this is going to be, I think, it's game 1, so it is what it is for now.
Yeah, everyone's keep an eye on. Fresh.
Yeah. But it is something to keep an eye on, is what does that minute distribution look like? And 9-man rotation, that's fine. I don't really have much issue with that. But it did feel like there needs to be a little bit more of that, a little bit more fluidity in how these minutes break down going forward.
Yeah, and that's why I think, my guy Lamar Stevens didn't see the court tonight. But I don't think it's fair to criticize Joe after one game. Shout out Steve. I just think that Mazzulla did a good job tonight. The substitution stuff, I think that's where maybe his assistant coaches need to kind of get in his ear and be like, hey, Kristaps is at X number of minutes. Like, you probably want to get him out here rather than
The
leave him in
first
the
quarter,
extra two.
even though he was rolling, felt a bit long.
Right, right. In the second half, he went to a different substitution pattern with Porzingis. Porzingis was in foul trouble, but he took him out 2 times in the third quarter, and he brought him in for shorter stints, which is what I would prefer with Porzingis, is that you don't play him for 12 minutes in a row. You give him 7 to 8 minute stints. But I think the Luke Cornett minutes, I just don't think those are going to be long for this year, man. I really don't. I would expect them to try and figure out a way, especially against teams that don't trend as big as the Knicks do, to have a Lamar Stevens on the court, or to have O'Shea Brissett on the court, because Cornette, I mean, what is he doing out there? Like, does that we played Cornette with Porzingis for
I was
a
gonna
couple
say
minutes.
we got the Kristaps and Luke pairing that I wasn't sure we were gonna get. It was only for like a minute or two, but it's very rare you see a team run out 2 7-footers at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, Luke Cornett has a role to play. He's a drop big, and I get it. He's 7 feet, and like he does have a role being as big as he is on the court, but he's just not as good as a Lamar Stevens. Like, I think Lamar Stevens is just a better basketball player than Luke Cornett is, and can do a lot of what Cornett is gonna do for the Celtics as a smaller, small ball 5 type. And I was actually wondering in the first half, like, damn, that's a lot of miles to put on Jrue Holiday covering Julius Randle. Can he do that for 48? And he did it. That's why I was also big on Lamar Stevens getting minutes tonight, because I was like, I think they're going to try Lamar Stevens on Randle if he's cooking somebody. But Jrue is just in his jersey the whole night.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we're going the other way with an overreaction, instant reaction to the first game, is that the depth of the bench, at least you didn't get a lot from the bench tonight. There was not a whole lot of production.
2 big free throws from Peyton Pritchard, though.
Hey, and he also had a Tommy point at the end of the third quarter to get Porzingis that tip in, where he came over the top and tipped it into Porzingis. So he had a little bit of an impact. But for preseason the preseason MVP, only 11 minutes tonight, 1 of 4 from the field. Hauser obviously wasn't hitting his threes. You were texting me about it. I think it was the beginning of the fourth quarter. RJ just hunted him for 7 straight points, I think, to start that fourth quarter, or at some point in the fourth.
It was actually, they were running the Quickly pick and roll, right? So they were trying to get Hauser in pick and roll with Quickly, and Quickly was unbelievable in this game. By the way,
he was so. I mean, man, he's gonna get he's gonna get he didn't get the contract yesterday or 2 days ago. He's gonna get a really nice contract at the end of the season.
Yeah, and the Celtics were trying to do things to avoid having bad matchups. They were pre-switching a lot, so you would see Jaylen Brown end up on Hartenstein as Hartenstein was coming up to set the screen for Quickly, so that it wouldn't be a bad switch, But the Knicks at the beginning of the fourth quarter, they were hunting Hauser. We had to get him off the court. Let's see. We got a comment from our guy, Steven. Hauser had been on the team for a year too long at this point. Yeah, I mean, my brother would agree with you, Steven. Honestly, Hauser is very streaky. I do think that he had, just like Cornette has a role to play, he has a role to play for the Celtics as a long distance shooter. Will's really big on Hauser. I'm still waiting to see it come to fruition. I think he can play in the NBA, but until it happens, it's all theoretical right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like you said with Hauser, and when I'm big on Hauser being a guy, it means that there's going to be certain matchups, certain games where if he doesn't have it going, like if this were a playoff scenario where it's okay, you had your chance, you had 3 threes, it didn't go in, you're done for the rest of the night. Like that's going to happen. He's that type of guy. But I think over the course of 82 games, he's going to be someone that, like we're talking here, you got to have that minutes distribution. Like, this team didn't shoot the ball well from 3 tonight. And this is another point that I wanted to bring up. They went 12 of 39 from 3, 30% from 3 tonight. The Knicks went 18 of 41 and shot 44%. I mean, obviously the fact that they almost shot better from 3 than they did the free throw line is a big reason why the Celtics were able to come away with this victory. But when the Celtics lose the 3-point line by that much and by that much percentage, that's generally going to be a Celtics loss. And so for Sam Hauser, yes, if for him to be in the rotation, the biggest thing is he has to be able to knock down some shots while he's out there. You talked about it. Quickly is going to be if you have a Quickly or a Maxey or one of these water bug point guards, which we've talked about a lot, just in general, give the Celtics problems. That's going to be a real big issue if you can hunt Sam Hauser with that type of player. And so there's going to be matchups where it's not a great night for Hauser. Tonight, he just didn't get the shot to go down. He had a couple decent looks. They didn't go in. I mean, that was kind of the same thing for Peyton Pritchard. He had a couple good looks tonight. Just didn't go in. Just wasn't a great night for the bench. I think Al was the only real, one that you could say had a super solid night off the bench with those 8 points, knocked down a couple threes. But yeah, that for me was one glaring hole within this game, was that the bench, which, we tried to say, hey, it's not a big deal. We're going to be good. We got guys for 82 games. That wasn't a great start, but it is only one game.
For sure. Will, do you have anything else you want to talk about on this game, or are you down to take a look with me, a real-time look at the box score for the Spurs and the Mavs?
Yeah, let's take a real-time look at it. Let's see what we got here.
What's going on with Wemby? Because this is the other thing going on tonight in the NBA that everyone wants to check out.
So I've got Wemby. I got Wemby pulled up here. We've got Wemby with 6 points, 3 rebounds, an assist, a steal, a block. He's only 2 buckets, 2 3-point shots so far. So that's what we're looking at from Wemby right now. Just for those of you listening to this, Spurs up by 2 on the Mavs, 56-54, with 3:17 left in the second.
And honestly, those of you that are watching on YouTube, like, what are you doing? Go watch Wemby.
Go watch Wemby. I mean,
why are you watching us right now? But other things that shout out to you guys. Other things that happened around the league tonight. I just want to go through some scores. Magic blow out the Rockets. Pacers blow out the Wizards. 143 for the Pacers. They're going to be a fun team to watch this year. Hornets upsetting the Hawks, first game of the season.
I saw Brandon Miller. I was looking through Twitter earlier. Saw Brandon Miller hit a couple big threes down the stretch.
Okay, shout out to Brandon Miller. Number 2 pick or number 3 pick?
He was the number 2 pick. Scoot was number 3.
That's right. Yeah, the Raptors beat the Wolves. I know a lot of people are high on the Wolves this year, 97-94. And then we got the Thunder smoking the Bulls, 124-104. And not a great debut, it looks like, for our guy Marcus Smart. Let's check the box score on our guy Marcus.
Yeah, I tuned in at halftime for a little bit of that game. It felt weird seeing Marcus in those Grizzly colors.
So Marcus, 5 turnovers. He was 6-11 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3, only 3 of 6 from the line. 5 turnovers for Marcus. He did have 17 points, but those 5 turnovers. Yeah, Memphis fans, you're going to be up and down with Marcus.
I think that's got to be a segment we do maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks. Check in on old friends, like just like a friendly check in. We'll check in with Rob, we'll check in with Marcus, check in with Grant, see how they're doing. But we'll keep tabs on that. But like the rest of what you all should be doing that are watching this on YouTube right now, we're gonna go watch some Wemby here. So we're gonna sign off for this one. But of course, we'll be back. Celtics got second game of the season coming up, the home opener Friday night against the Miami Heat. Eastern Conference Finals rematch. Should be a great one, whether it's after the game or the next morning. We'll have some coverage for you guys. Make sure that y'all stay tuned in, stay locked in. Green with Envy. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're following us across all of our social medias. And as always, we appreciate y'all for tuning in. We will catch y'all later.
Peace.